I'm Caitlin and welcome back to the Lit Review. I just got done filming my TBR game and I thought it would be the perfect time to sit down and talk about what the heck I actually managed to read in August. It was like a decent reading month for me. It wasn't too extreme. It was a modest but delightful number of 6. So that's great for me. That actually means that my mental health is more in check and in balance than I was giving it credit for, because when my numbers of how many books I've read are too high, that usually means I'm not doing well. But we celebrate the small months, we celebrate the big months for what they are. So how I like to do my wrap-ups is kind of take you through things pretty quickly. I'll start with either a rant or a rave, my best or worst book of the month, and kind of like go from there. I think this month we're gonna start off with a rant so that we can end on some good news with my rave. And then I will take you up through star rating through the rest of my books. And for the ones in the middle, the ones I'm not going on either a rant or a rave about, I will give you like 1 to 2 sentences of summary or thoughts on the book. And then you will also be getting some infographics that will be up here. And those are just kind of chock full of my thoughts or recommendations in a way, because it'll have the title, the author, the star rating that I gave it, whether or not I thought it was spicy, and also whether or not I'll have tears to whether or not it made me cry. Obviously, any type of rating system when we think about books or shared art experiences is highly subjective, but it's there to kind of like let you know what I thought and felt of it in a really quick way so that we can keep this video on the shorter side. Sound good? Let's get to it. All right, so I'm gonna rely on the infographic here because my rant, I have already unhauled it. I do not want it anymore. And that is The Mistwalker by Regine Abel. I gave it 2.5 stars. It's not that this was like an offensive or bad or like awful book like some of the rants I've been on before where it just like personally offended me and now I'm mad at it. It didn't hit. Like I almost gave it a 3 stars because I was like, it was fine. But then I was like, no, like if you're not actually gonna be like, I would recommend this to some people, it needs to be at least under a 3 star. So I felt like my biggest ish with this book was actually just the writing quality, and like the heroine wasn't for me. She like, there were times where I really liked her, and then there were times where I just couldn't stand her. How are you not aware? So I just kind of found myself like annoyed by her actions and choices. And you know, you don't always have to like your heroines. That's okay too. But it was a detractor for me. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Basically everything from here on out is pretty positive rating. It's just like degrees of nice. Going again up the list to the rave review of the month. At 3.5 stars is The Way You Hold Me by Elle Wright. Cover looks like the kind of thing that you find in like a drugstore, and it's like one of 2 romance novels that are on sale and you're like, okay, I guess. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Wow, I said I was gonna limit myself to 2 sentences and I just went off on a tangent. Sorry. Sentences, Caitlin. 2. If you like second chance romances where the heroes have actually done the work and tried to figure their shit out to be healthier people before re-engaging with the romance, this book is for you. Skye and Garrett have a very sweet, tender, and emotionally healthy second chance romance in the midst of a PR disaster with Hollywood starlets. So we're lengthy sentences, but we'll get better at this. So I had just a bunch of 4-star reads, and I know I own this book. I gave it 4 stars. I intend to keep it. I would like to keep reading the rest in the series, but I can't find it. Do you ever just like set a book down in your house and then lose it? Or is that just me? Anyway, the first of those books is Promise of Darkness by Beck McMaster. This book is for all my readers who are jonesing for a Sarah J. Maas fantasy romance. Give this one a go. A Fey princess whose powers are kind of kaput is bartered to a Fey prince, a dark Fey prince, for 3 months as a political alliance. Action and adventure ensues, and maybe her powers are not as kaput as she thinks. Book 1 of 3. The next on my tour de force of 4-star reads is Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma. So this is book 1 of 3. Only 2 are published, but all 3 books are in the If Shakespeare Was an Auntie series by Anisha Sharma. And so this is a Shakespeare adaptation with a Desi contemporary romance twist. So this is a Taming of the Shrew retelling, and Karina is the one who like believes in love but is kind of no nonsense and needs to get her life together, where Prem is trying to espouse arranged marriage as like a heart healthy thing, and they get caught on camera having a heated argument about this topic, and now they both need each other to get something that they both really want. I won't go into specifics, but I loved the mixed media components in this book. It was a really huge selling point for me. I'm very excited to read book 2, which is out now, and that's Tastes Like Shakar. Then I have Sin and Ink by Naima Simone. This is, I think, part of a Sweetest Taboo duet, so that'll tell you a lot right here. Basically, a former MMA fighter is fighting his feelings for his brother's widow. I usually give shorter books a lot of shit for not having good pacing. This is one of the best short fiction romances that isn't like an erotic short story. Like this is a shorter romance, but holy smokes, the writing quality is excellent, and the steam's really good. It's really good. Please read this. Okay, and that brings us to my rave review for the month. It's my favorite book that I read this month, and I gave it 4.5 stars, and that is Kiss the Girl by Zoretta Cordova. So this is a fun one because it's technically book 3 in a series, but they're all kind of standalones. You do not have to read them in order, but they are all fairy tale or like Disney adaptations in a way, and this is published, I believe, by a subsidiary of Disney, so it is like a true Disney-ish adaptation. And so each of the books is written by a different author, a name that you will definitely recognize. I think Julie Murphy has done one, Jasmine Guillory has done one, and then this one is obviously Zoretta Cordova. And it is, I hope you can tell, it's a Little Mermaid retelling. The cover is aggressively what made me pick this one up. So this being kind of Disney affiliated, I will tell you right the heck now, it's not that spicy. And I have gotten to a point in my reading life with my romances where I crave spice. It is something that I feel like I really want in my reading. But this was so freaking good that I didn't really miss it. And that is always a hallmark moment, a really huge sign. So you are still going to get a lot of like romantic feelings. There's going to be some like great kisses. But everything is like not quite fade to black, not quite closed door, but more of like the next morning and stuff has happened. So more closed door than anything else. But again, I love a mixed media component, and there are some really amazing mixed media moments in this book that make a lot of sense. And here's why. I haven't told you anything about this book other than the fact that it's a Disney retelling and that there's not enough spice for my poor little overheated brain. Ariel Del Mar is her stage name, and she is one of the, I think, like 7 sisters. So they were a huge pop band, a la like kind of a Disneyfication situation, and they just launched their farewell tour, and she's trying to figure out what the higgity heck is next for her. But in this case, her controlling father, who owns Atlantica Records, is trying to like put her immediately into a solo career and just kind of like control her life, and she's not about it. So she ends up kind of running away to go be the merch girl on an up-and-coming band tour. I hope I'm saying his name correctly, but this is Eric Reyes, and he is like a new kind of like indie rocker. And so she kind of goes in disguise, but really the disguise is just her real self because she had to wear like this crazy wig and had this whole persona. But she ends up being the merch girl on his tour because they had like kind of an accidental meet cute at a concert venue. And they have just like this really sweet, tender romance that builds over a connection of music and just a love of, you know, creating and writing, and it's so sweet. The mixed media components that I was mentioning, it's people like, let me see if I can find some. So obviously there's texting. I feel like that's getting more and more common in our books these days. But there's like transcripts of podcasts. Oh, then there's like ads like get the look if you want to look like each of the seven sisters. And then I just thought that was so clever. Like all these little mixed media components that really let you know how much pressure each of these individuals are over, and you see what it's like, what the press and things are like for Ariel, who's, you know, ending this huge part in her career. And then you start to see the press kind of pay attention to Eric, unrelated to her celebrity in any way, shape, or form, because she's like, nobody knows that she's just a merch girl. But it's so good. It's so good. And there's a lot more to it. Like the connections that Zoraida Cordova made to the Ariel Little Mermaid journey, but kept them so grounded in this kind of like music industry way. I loved it. I thought it was so clever. I felt so rewarded as a fan of The Little Mermaid. Then also, I loved that both of these individuals are Latine, which I think makes sense because Zoraida Cordova writes amazing Latine, you know, fantasy and or contemporary characters. So the fact that both Ariel and Eric are not just, you know, struggling or grappling with whether or not they want fame, but different parts of their identity and what it means to be in the spotlight with that identity. And I think a lot of the other characters in this book, supporting cast-wise, have different identity pieces, but are also struggling with those same things, or dealing with the blowback of those same things. And I loved each of their reflection on what that meant to them, and it was so good. I'm not sitting here like, why didn't I give you a 5-star? I feel like there was something. Oh, it was probably just that it wasn't spicy enough for me, which is absolutely personal preference. I will definitely be chasing down the other two books in this kind of like companion-oriented series, and will be keeping my eyes peeled for like what comes next from this. It's called a meant to be novel. So that's like the connecting thread. That's the little series. I think I have the Julie Murphy one. I don't think I own the Jasmine Guillory one, but that's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Julie Murphy's is a Cinderella retelling. Oh, please, Disney, keep going so I can keep consuming this. So I'm missing two, but this is my little stack. I'm missing the Mistwalker, which I unhauled, and then the Beck McMaster's Promise of Darkness. I will find that. I do own it. It's a fantastic read, though. So overall, a really good August reading month. I'm really happy with how that all stacked up. Thank you for spending time with me. I hope you have a fantastic reading day or night, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Oh, no, Hold on, girl, now wait just a minute. I've got something to say, you should hear it. Oh, I'm happy to make time for your feelings, but you have to admit